What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we know going into 2023, Microsoft has some pretty big titles to release, mostly because Microsoft and Bethesda delayed Starfield and Redfall out of this year into next year. But there are some things going on in the background right now, specifically when it comes to a release date for Starfield, and it has people a bit concerned, but we'll talk about that here today. Also, we are going to be going over an update for a pretty big Switch game that appears to have broken the title after pushing the price of it over $60, and we now have a response from the company. And we're also going to be talking about Overwatch 2 because it launched and things didn't go that well. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps that a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. We know that there is a next gen, or I guess now current gen, update coming out here soon, but we now have that date for release. We can see this posted up over on Twitter. From Dragon Ball Games, relive the Dragon Ball Z saga like never before with enhanced graphics and 60 FPS. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S on January 13th. So just a couple of weeks into 2023. It will be pushed way of a free update if you already have it on your PS4 and your Xbox One and you're playing through backwards compatibility. Otherwise, there will be a retail release you could pick up for current platforms. Now, taking a look at the visuals here, some people are a little mixed on it because it does seem like it's trying to push it towards a more realistic aesthetic, but to me, they just kind of took some of the muddy textures and smoothed them out and cleaned them up a bit there. But overall, hey, the 60 FPS jump is nice. I think at this point, I'm just ready for the next Dragon Ball game. I know Bandai loves to just release DLC constantly. We're still getting it for Xenoverse 2. So I'd like to see maybe a Xenoverse 3 or whatever's after Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, but we have more DLC for that game too, so who knows when we're getting another Dragon Ball game. Also, the RTX 4090 has started to make its way out to media outlets and influencers online. There are a lot of images being posted up on Twitter and videos of unboxings, and of course, people are now taking this gargantuan card and putting it next to things around their house, like the Xbox Series S. This is a really funny image that went viral on Twitter because you can see it here, and this was posted up by Okami Gaming. Yeah, the 4090 appears to be maybe a little larger than the Xbox Series S itself, and that's a video card. Over on Windows Central, they did do kind of a size comparison when it comes to the overall volume using the dimensions, and yeah, according to math, it is a little larger, which, I mean, is funny because the Series S is an entire system, whereas this is just a video card, which would then go in a PC. And look, the 3090, significantly more powerful than that Series S. It's just one of those funny comparisons when you start putting the 4090 next to things in your house. Yeah, turns out it's a really big card. Oh, and we did have PlayStation Stars launch yesterday in North America. I checked it out on the mobile app for PlayStation, where they gave you like a telescope as just an initial collectible to put in your display case. And they also had a T-Rex that you can unlock by playing any game. That was it. You just fire up a game and they drop that collectible to you. They also have other campaigns that are currently ongoing. One is based around sounds, and you get kind of like this the sound machine for Sony. But I took a look at the collectible case. It doesn't look very good. You can see, this is a screenshot, for example, just of the first hour or so of having this installed through the app. I don't know, it looks like it's just kind of floating there on another picture. It's like photoshopped in. It's very strange stuff. You can very quickly look at the collectible in your app and it just kind of spins in a 3D view. But at this time, you just do everything through this app and nothing on the PlayStation system itself. So early days for PlayStation Stars with this collectible program. Here's hoping they have much larger plans for this service and it's not, well, just looking like this from now on. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Starfield, which is certainly at this time Microsoft's next big release. I know Redfall is another large release from Bethesda, but clearly everything is focusing in right now on Starfield, as that's essentially the next big Skyrim or Fallout, but just taking to space, which sounds ridiculous when you think about that engine where there's no gravity, and we see things in Skyrim and Fallout just breaking as kind of a funny thing, but bringing it into space, possibilities are endless for that. But we're trying to figure out now, when is this game coming out? Because we don't have a solid release date. Basically, all they've told us is 2023. We're thinking it's going to be first half of 2023. However, some things are moving around in the background for this game. For example, it was spotted and then posted up over on Reddit with this image here from SteamDB, where there was an update on October 3rd, moving the date from November 11th, 2022 to December 29th, 2023. And this immediately exploded online. There were a lot of articles that were being written and posted up, like this one from WCCF Tech saying Starfield SteamDB changes may hint at another delay for Bethesda's RPG. And it's certainly something that was talked about heavily on Twitter. To me, this is a placeholder date. I think really what they're looking at is, well, it's not coming out in November anymore, so we have to move this date. It was kind of weird that they waited till now to do it. I figured they would have done it maybe the week after they announced the delay, just to get everything sorted out there. And really, they're just still saying sometime in 2023, and that's all. I wouldn't be shocked. I will say this. I wouldn't be shocked if Starfield still ended up being a holiday release just in 2023, so it getting an entire year delay. It's a big time game from Bethesda, and they want to make sure it's not broken on release. And on Microsoft's side, they also want to make sure it's not broken on release, because Microsoft is trying something new in the gaming industry with Game Pass and the subscription model, and they still have a lot to prove when it comes to these large, single player games that would be going into the service. And you don't want that publicity of, oh, it launched and it's just completely busted from the start, which, it's Bethesda. Let's face it, these games come out and they're usually pretty janky and all this. So we kind of already expect it. In fact, if it shows up and it works within reason, I think that'd be kind of a win for them with something like Starfield. But to me, I'm still expecting this to come out before E3 of 2023, because that sure would be awkward, actually, to have it there again. So I guess we'll find out here hopefully soon. Going into January or February, we start to hear something from Microsoft and Bethesda when it comes to Starfield's release. Next up, let's actually stick with Bethesda here, but on the Nintendo Switch, that being for Skyrim Anniversary Edition. This is a game that immediately, as soon as it was posted on the eShop, very quietly, by the way, they didn't really hype it up at all, it caused controversy because it's a $70 version of Skyrim. Now, there are extra benefits for this, obviously, when it comes to content from the Creation Club that they've kind of packaged all together, and Skyrim is still $60 on the Switch, so they weren't going to make it the same price. They decided to just tack $10 on, and there you go, a $70 version of Skyrim, a game that, hey, was really good on the Xbox 360. Anyway, there's one issue here when it comes to the Switch, and that seems to be that this update has actually made the game run worse. In fact, the frame rate has dropped pretty significantly, as you can see in this video here, especially in many of the towns. This is from Zyphos Gaming, just kind of walking around in some of the areas and noticing that the frame rate is actually cut in half. Remember, Skyrim on the Switch is locked to 30 FPS, and one of the biggest things that people were praising it for when it first came out on the system is that it was a fairly locked 30 FPS. It was a very strange sensation to play Skyrim on the Switch. I don't know if it's considered like an impossible port, as we've seen with something like Doom or Wolfenstein or Witcher. It's up there, though. There's something about being able to play Skyrim in handheld mode on the platform. But, there are just several examples now of the frame rate being, well, Xbox 360 level. It wasn't great back then on the 360 or the PS3. We kind of lived with it because of the scope of the game. But here we are now, a decade later, and it's not running well. 15, 16, 17 frames per second. And to get worse, it's actually crashing quite frequently, according to many people. Over on Bethesda's website, they did respond to this with a question, why am I experiencing frame rate issues with the Elder Scrolls Skyrim following the Anniversary Edition update on Switch? They say we are investigating reports of performance issues on Nintendo Switch with the Skyrim after the Anniversary Edition update. If you're experiencing this issue and would like to receive an update on this topic, log in to help website and select subscribe to article. So I'll keep you guys up to date on this one as we find out more. I am shocked that they would have put this out in this level of performance. You feel like they probably would have tested it, considering they're going up to a $70 version of Skyrim. So at this point, it it's probably not worth even updating your version of Skyrim. Just kind of keep it where it is until we hear more from Bethesda as to how they're going to work this situation out. Because the crashing is obviously going to be frustrating when it comes to a large game like Skyrim, but just the performance and it being so sluggish just makes the overall experience worse. So hang tight, we'll see what Bethesda has to say about this one. Next up, let's talk about Overwatch 2. It launched the other day and it didn't go over very smoothly, although I guess these large multiplayer online games, most of them just don't launch well at all. There's always issues when it comes to logging in, broken connections, and so on there. But this one in particular had a lot going on with it. First, for example, we can see this over on Twitter from Mike Ybarra saying, unfortunately, we're experiencing a mass DDoS attack on our servers. Teams are working hard to mitigate and manage. This is causing a lot of drop/connection issues. That was kind of strange when I saw that. It's like, wow, people really don't like this game if it's getting DDoS to this degree. And I did try to log in. I was like, let me give Overwatch 2 a chance. I go in, it puts me in this queue and it says there's 30 some odd thousand people ahead of me. And I just looked at that and said, well, all right, back to DioField Chronicle, which, by the way, DioField Chronicle, I'm kind of enjoying it. In the chapter 6, which is basically towards the end of the game, and it's not too bad. I play a couple hours a night here, but Overwatch 2 struggling out of the gate, not great considering there's no Overwatch 1 to go back to. And there's also the situation when it comes to the phone number where you need a phone number to verify your account and actually play the game, but people are still noticing that it doesn't work for any prepaid phone. So I guess you need one that's just a straight up plan with a Verizon, T-Mobile, or etc. I guess in their case, they would see it as a more permanent phone number rather than one that someone would just go out to like Walmart and buy a Go phone, I guess, to get around this whole thing. It's a very strange situation from top to bottom. The other part I noticed though with Overwatch 2 is I didn't see a lot of promotion with this game. I thought I would have seen it everywhere on Twitter, all over the place, on TV for different like Monday Night Football or just anything. And I just didn't. So it was very odd. In fact, the most I've heard about Overwatch are when people are posting images of how many people are in front of them for the queue, or the fact that they can't log in because there's a busted connection and so on there. So this whole thing with Overwatch 2, the launch, has been very, very strange. And once again, it's a shame that they shut down Overwatch 1. I assume, one, for confusion, because they didn't want people to maybe play that one by accident, and two, because they want everyone to play Overwatch 2 and move to the newer live service game. So they erased the 2016 Game of the Year, and now we get to sit in queues of 30,000 or more people. So a lot of fun. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Bayonetta 3. It's been a while since this game was revealed. In fact, Reggie revealed it the first year that the Switch came out. So it's finally, we've come full circle, and now we're 3 weeks out from it releasing. And it looks like the Game Informer cover story for this month is Bayonetta 3. You can see the cover here. This is if you would open the magazine up. So imagine the spine of the magazine down the middle here. They describe it as the beautiful cover art features Bayonetta flaunting her demon masquerade ability by channeling the power of Madame Butterfly, who appears on the back cover in her full demonic glory. So you're going to want to go out and grab a copy of this if you're a big Bayonetta fan. That should be, I guess, going out to GameStops or out to your mailbox if you still have a print copy subscription in the coming weeks here. Otherwise, they will have a digital version of this magazine going out to email here pretty soon, they say, and there's actually quite a bit of information in this magazine around Bayonetta 3, as they were able to play through some of the beginning of the game, and they had interviews with people at Platinum Games, such as Hideki Kamiya, around the Bayonetta 3 development, and as they say, answers to burning questions surrounding its gameplay and story. And I'll admit, I'm not that interested right now in reading through some of that stuff, only because I'm just ready to pick the game up. Like, I'm already sold on it. I don't need to hear much else that could potentially spoil anything in the game. I do want the magazine though, because it's a really nice piece of artwork there for Bayonetta 3, and we don't really see that as often with Bayonetta, since it is kind of a series that still flies under the radar a bit. So it is cool to see it acknowledged here on the full cover for Game Informer. So I'll be picking that up, but I think for the most part, I'm just kind of blinders on for Bayonetta 3 when it releases towards the end of October. with the one exception of the reviews when those drop, as we'll be talking about them here. And I am thinking this could be one of those quiet Game of the Year nominations. It's possible, just based on what we've seen from the Bayonetta franchise. Typically it scores high, and it's been in that conversation before with Bayonetta 2. So unless this game comes out and it's broken or it's uninspired or there's issues with it, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw this either in the high 80s or even low 90s, and potentially right there with a bunch of other titles like Elden Ring at the Game of the Year award. So we'll see when this one releases later on this month, but definitely looking forward to it. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you been able to find a PS5 now that we're almost 2 years into the generation? 46% said yes, look at that. 41% said no, I just don't want one right now. And yeah, I think currently, I mean, we're going into God of War Ragnarok releasing, which I mean, it looks really good, but it is out on the PS4, so I kind of get if you have a PS4 now or a PS4 Pro, you might just be kind of like, you know, I'm okay. I can wait to see what else Sony has in store, because Wolverine, that's going to be a while away. Rise of the Ronin, that's a while away. Spider-Man 2 is at least coming up next year, but we're going to start hearing Sony talk, I assume, anytime now, because they have to talk about PSVR 2, which should be something that I hope pushes the PS5 a bit more, and then more exclusive specifically for current gen on that PlayStation 5 system, because after God of War, I don't really know what else is coming out for Sony going into 2023. Nothing that at least has a date next to it. Like I said, Spider-Man 2 is set up for next year, but we don't exactly know if that's early 2023 or late 2023, so a lot of questions to be answered from Sony, and I think they're going to start doing that here soon. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from XYZ saying, Dreams is the game that definitely needed to be ported to PC. Multiplayer would be cherry on the cake. I don't want Media Molecule to shut down due to low sales of Dreams. I don't think Media Molecule is going to get shut down. In fact, what I believe they're doing right now with Dreams is, I guess you would say, a sequel or an updated version of it. I don't think they're just going to port the current version to PC. I think what they started to do was build a new Dreams title that's going to release on PC and PS5 day and date, because I think you can make the case for Dreams being a live service title if it's viewed in that way, with the marketplace and a way to share these different creations and going back and forth between platforms and ongoing support. So that's sort of what I think they're going to try to do here with Dreams. I don't know if it's going to be called Dreams 2 or Dreams and some sort of like subtitle to it to mark that it's a PS5 and PC specific game, because Dreams is still a PlayStation 4 title. So that would be my assumption, is it's not worth porting that version of Dreams. It's time to make a new one that releases on multiple platforms. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's Starfield having its date kind of behind the scenes moved to December of 2023? Do you think this game is going to be coming out early next year, or could it actually be a holiday 2023 title? And then also, what about Skyrim Anniversary Edition on the Switch? Let me know if you updated to this newer version of it and what your experience has been so far. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.